Well, this is awkward. Scott wanted to be here, but he had to rush off to an appointment at the last minute. So, I guess you're stuck with me, a blow-up doll. Who am I? Well, you may remember my brother, the autopilot in Airplane. But other than that, my claim to fame is being a stand-in for a Fortune 10 executive. I'm fake Scott Monty. How I came to be is part of the story in this week's episode that's all about Scott's late friend, Darryl Ohrt. Stick around. Maybe we can get Scott to return and share even more hot air with you than I do.
Welcome to the Full Monty. With so much information constantly churning, it's easy to lose focus. This is the show that cuts through the clutter to provide you with insight and perspective on some of the most pressing issues of the day. And now, here's your host, Scott Monty.
Hey, I'm Scott Monty, and I was able to get it. Hey, I'm Scott Monty, and I was able to get back. This guy creeps me out, and I don't know about you. I had this set up over the last day or two in my office. It used to be in my office at Ford all the time. I'll tell you about that story in just a minute. But I had it set up at my home office here, and my wife kept walking by the door, and it freaked her out because I was out doing some errands, and she was out here, and she just walked by and thought I was in here, or somebody was in here. So it's very effective. Well, this is fake Scott Monty, and Darryl Ohrt is the guy who brought him into my life. And the reason Darryl was brought into my life is because I worked at a small consultancy about a decade or so ago, and Darryl and his agency helped us out with putting together a website and frames for a multiple-person video chat on a service called Uvu. And the thing that struck me about Darryl is that he brought such enthusiasm and such joy and obviously creativity. He was a creative director. But it made you want to be more like him. It made you want to be around him, certainly. It made you feel good, right? And Darryl passed away this past weekend after a long fight with cancer. And it made me think, especially on the heels of what happened with Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, about creators and their impact, and when they leave us, why it's so heartfelt, whether you knew them in person or knew them through their creations. And I really think it's because they creators, and you think about to create something, it's more than making. You're creating. God created the earth. At least that's how the Bible will have us believe it. Created heaven and earth. And there's a certain sense of awe that goes into creation. Having an idea, pouring yourself into something to create, and then serve it up to be judged by other people. And you hope that your creation has moved them. You hope that your creation has helped them come to the same realization that you have. And ultimately, it's allowed you to share an emotion with someone and cause an emotion in someone else. And whether you're in accounting, or you're an executive, or you're in marketing, or you drive a truck, or whatever, when you create, when you lead other people, being able to make them feel something, whether it's through a creation, and it could be creating a memo, right? When you put yourself into it, and when you show the joy and enthusiasm with which you show up to work, or to whatever it is that you're creating, it makes a great deal of difference in their lives and how they approach things. And that's how Darryl rubbed off on me. I always wanted to be around him, and I wanted to co-create with him. So Darryl and team, they did a few summer tours where they rented a van, they wrapped it in their plaid logo, and they drove it all around the country. up and down a coast or, through a region, and they highlighted other people that were doing cool things, other brands, agencies, etc. And of course, they brought their own enthusiasm with them. Well, when I got to Ford, I said, you can't just be driving around a rental van. We want to give you a more stylish car. So we gave them a Ford Flex, and they wrapped it. And they went live streaming in 2009, before live streaming was even a thing. And I've got some videos and some photos from the tour in the show notes, if you can check that out. But it was amazing to follow along with them and to co-create with them. And when they got back, they gave me this blow-up doll, an inflatable doll in the offices of Ford Motor Company. So I kept it in my office. And it was a conversation piece. Everybody wanted to know about it. Where'd you get it? Why? Who sent it to you? And I was only overjoyed to tell that story. This guy ended up going to a blogger conference, came back with his own Twitter handle and photo set on Flickr. It was a whole thing. But every time I think about this or see this, it reminds me of Darryl and his team. And just so you know, it's official. It's called the Office Buddy, and the Office Buddy does the work so you don't have to. Right? When you're asked to be in two places at once, when you're asked to do the work of more than one person, Office Buddy can do it for you. And he can take the heat for you when you're late turning in a report. You can take a nap, and he can stand in for you. All of these reasons here. And these are the kinds of things that people would get and put in their passenger seat so they could get into HOV lanes in traffic. Just a wonderful creative use that Darryl and his team put to this. Well, Darryl, you're going to be missed. Your spirit lives on in all of us who create. And I hope that you take this message of creativity and joy and optimism and you bring it to your team as well.
So this is it. Last day, New Orleans. We're about to unwrap the Flex.
Thank you for joining me for a few minutes. If you like what you heard, please subscribe on the podcast player of your choice. And of course, check out the newsletter at philmontyshow.com. So long, and I'll see you on the internet.